There's the gavel signal for RTN, so I apologize for the delay today. We had some technical difficulties, but everything's been fixed, and here we go. So we're starting today's meeting to discuss downtown public safety update. And
Sure.
Mr. Raleigh, could
Yes.
you lead us, please?
Absolutely, Mayor. And good afternoon, or not quite afternoon yet, almost, Mayor and members of the committee. So this is a continuation of conversation we've had in the committee for a few months going now, related to our efforts to improve safety in and around the downtown and Glenwood South areas. And I will tell you, I'll give away the punchline at the beginning. You'll hear the details of this from the various departments that have had a hand in it, but the news is good. Not to say that there isn't work still to be done, but many of the interventions that we have talked about over the course of the last several committee meetings are absolutely bearing fruit. And so we're very pleased to be able to share that today. So we'll have presentations from several departments. Our Chief Estella Patterson will lead us off with a presentation from the police department. Then you will hear from David Walker with transportation to talk about just update you on our private security at the transit center. And then we'll close with some information on our street light work. So without further ado, I'll turn the podium over to Chief Patterson.
Thank you, Evan. Good morning. Good morning to everyone again. I'm Estella Patterson, Chief of Police for the Raleigh Police Department, and it is our pleasure today to be here to give you an update on our downtown safety initiatives. With me are members of my team who have been leading and overseeing our efforts in the downtown region, and I just want to introduce them very quickly. With us is my Chief of Staff, Amanda Roll. Also, too, Captain Matt Van Antwerp. He is our new commander in our downtown district. He has been doing a phenomenal job just getting to learn the area and meet all the business owners. Also, too, we have with us Sergeant Maddie Horner. She is with our Acorns unit. She is a newly promoted supervisor. She was an officer in Acorns, and now she is leading the Acorns team. And so you will hear from both of them. And then also, too, I have Stacy Lundy here with me. She is our research and planning supervisor, and she's been helping just compiling the data and getting information for us. So we are happy to provide this crime update for you for the Glenwood South area and our downtown business area. Our last update was back in September, on September 26, 2023, and I know at that time there was a lot of concern, particularly from those who have businesses in both these areas about what was happening with respect to each area. Since that time, we have made significant strides to address crime and disorder. As Evan stated, we have good news to talk about today. I'm excited about that. Our continued focus is on the Glenwood South, the immediate and surrounding area, as well as our core business area, which is Fayetteville Street, and the surrounding area, our Go Raleigh Station, Transit Mall, Moore Square, etc. So I want to start with Glenwood South. What I will do today for you is just provide some of the crime stats for that area, as well as our core business area, and then I will ask Captain Van Antwerp to come forward to talk about our efforts and what we will be doing in 2024 into the year, and then Sergeant Horner will come up and speak about Acorn's efforts and the services that they are providing. So looking at Glenwood South, when we look at the footprint, I just want to be sure that everybody knows what areas we're talking about specifically. Our map covers from Peace Street to Hillsborough, and then it extends from St. Mary's over to Harrington Street. Looking at our calls for service in this region, we compared the fourth quarter of 2022 with fourth quarter of 2023. You can see that there has been an increase in the calls for service, but that is partly due to officer-generated calls. Because we are in that area focusing on it, we have seen an increase in calls. We have created some of the calls in that area for events that we are seeing. And likewise for our reported incidents, because if we make an arrest, we have to do a report that is associated with that. So you can see there is a drastic increase in the number of reported incidents. From the inception of the traffic pattern that we initiated back on August in 2023, which, by the way, we received a lot of positive feedback from our business owners as well as our patrons from that. But because of the increase, as a result of it, we have seen a decrease in the bottlenecking that is going on in the Glenwood South area along Glenwood South, which is immensely important because we have to be able to get emergency vehicles in there if we have to. And with the pattern that we have now, it facilitates that if we have to get our police cars or if we have to get our fire trucks in there. Also, too, because of the traffic pattern, we've seen a decrease in crowds spilling into the streets, which we know years past that has been a concern, top of mind for us. Also, to the amount of juveniles that have been in the area has decreased as a result of our presence in the area and the traffic pattern that we have initiated. In the last presentation that I had to you, we knew that those areas we had seen an increase in the juvenile presence. We had seen an increase in the loitering, but we have seen decreases in that area. What we do continue to see is an increase in out-of-town residents visiting Raleigh, coming to our downtown area, wanting to be a part of the nightlife in the Glenwood South area. I tell my recruits when they come through the academy, I says, Glenwood South is not where you need to hang out. We want you studying and preparing for class, not being in that area. And so, but we continue to see people coming in from out of town in this area. Looking at our statistical data, I'm very pleased to report that we did not have any homicides in the fourth quarter. We know we had one in the third quarter in the Glenwood South area, but 0 homicides for the fourth quarter. We've seen a decrease in our aggravated assaults, which is huge for us. That is an area that we have been really focusing on trying to reduce the violent crime that is occurring in the Glenwood South area. Also, too, we did not have any aggravated assaults with firearms. That is a win for us. We did see an increase in disorderly conduct, but again, that goes back to, one, it's an entertainment district, so you're going to have that kind of behavior. But secondly, too, we're the ones identifying it. So our officers are seeing these events happen, these affrays, these disturbances, and we're intervening. And as a result, then it generates a number for us because we have to do a report. We did have 3 sexual offenses that occurred in the fourth quarter. They were not stranger rapes. It wasn't a situation where somebody was abducted and sexually assaulted. These incidents were when the subject and the victim were known to each other, kind of thing, and we then took a report as a result of it. Looking at our proactive work, our proactive engagement, I will say that I am extremely pleased with the proactive work of our officers in the area. It really sends a strong message of what we will allow and will not allow in our city and in our entertainment district. You see a lot of positive numbers. We have done a lot of work in making sure that we're very visible along Glenwood South, and not just the main corridor, but also the parking decks and the surrounding area. We want to maintain a vibrant and safe atmosphere in that area. So in the fourth quarter, we had more weapon seizures. We had more people that we found carrying concealed weapons. We got those weapons from them and off the streets. We had more felony and misdemeanor drug charges, arrests, and offenses. And we are also, if we have individuals who are driving while they're impaired, we're making sure that we're addressing that as well. Very pleased with the work that we are doing proactively in that area. Turning now to our business core, our Transit Mall area. The map encompasses West Morgan Street to Person Street, Person to Cabarrus and Wilmington, Wilmington to Lenore, Lenore to Salisbury, and then Salisbury to Person Street. By the numbers, again, our presence in the area has generated an increase in calls for service and reported incidents. I will tell you that despite our presence in that area, we continue to see an influx of individuals coming and taking up residence in the downtown area. We know this because when our officers get out and they speak with them, we ask them, are you from this area? Where are you coming from? And surprising to us, we're hearing everything. I'm coming from the West Coast. I'm coming from the North. I'm coming from different areas. In fact, we're learning that people are telling folks that you need to go to Raleigh. I guess they think we're the land that overflow with milk and honey. So they're all coming to the Raleigh region. That's good for us in a sense, but also too, it creates a situation where we have more individuals who are unhoused and we don't have housing for them. In the fourth quarter, we did see a significant decrease in the juveniles loitering in the area. When we were here in September, we heard a lot of that from the business community, and we were seeing it ourselves as police officers. And so we really was intentional about our efforts to talk to Wake County schools, to make sure that our SROs are talking to our young people who are skipping school and reaching out to them when they're not there so that they're not coming downtown and just loitering and hanging out. We have also continued to see, again, the increase in the people coming from out of town come into the Raleigh area. With our crime stats, we did have one homicide in the fourth quarter. That was the young man, the 16-year-old, that was shot in the Moore Square area. The suspect in that case was apprehended immediately, which we are very happy for. Very unfortunate incident. So we did have the one homicide. We had an increase in our aggravated assaults, and we had one assault with a firearm for the fourth quarter. We saw, again, an increase in our disorderly conduct, and we had 3 sexual offenses. The disorderly conduct, again, is a result of us being in the area, being present, making a lot of interventions and arrests of individuals who were in that area and having issues. The proactive work in our business core, transit mall area, was just like in Glenwood South. I have been very happy to see what our officers are doing in that downtown area and all along Fayetteville Street, Wilmington Street. I'm hoping that everybody is seeing our presence more and more in that area and that we are addressing the issues that we're seeing. Again, we're having individuals who are carrying concealed weapons. That seems to be something that we're seeing repeatedly throughout our city. We are seizing those illegal firearms, and we have drug offenses as well that we are concentrating on. If you can recall, back in September, actually beginning September 11th, we were very intentional to say we're going to have an all-hands-on-deck approach to addressing the crime that we are seeing in our downtown area. We pulled all our units together, and we had a zero-tolerance approach that we took in our business core. We ran this from from September all the way through December, and I wanted to share the overall numbers with you because they're really impressive in terms of how much work we were doing in that area. Our goal is not to arrest our way out of our issues or our problems. Our goal is to make the community as safe as we can make it, and sending a very strong message to those who want to come down to the business core area that we're not going to be tolerant of any illegal or criminal behavior in that area. So very good work by all our officers and our partners. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Captain Van Antwerp to talk to you about some of the things that we told you that we were going to do and where we're at with that and what we're going to continue to do in 2024. Captain.
Thank you, Chief, Council. Good morning, members of the public. My name is Matt Van Antwerp. I'm the captain, district commander in the downtown district. It's a relatively new role for me within the last couple of months. As the chief pointed to the recent downtown safety initiative in September of last year, I was assigned to our special operations division. And so in that role, I was part of that effort to come to the downtown area, start to work in the core business area on some of the problems that we saw. Coming freshly to the downtown district, one of my first initiatives was to expand our hospitality unit. That hospitality unit is the unit that is responsible for many of those weapon seizures and the addressing of violent crime in the downtown district, mostly on the prevention side. I'll point, later in the presentation to some of their work. But it was very important that we expand that unit, continue to have more of a good thing, and to be able to throttle down on, working through some of the troubles that we were having in the downtown area. We wanted to continue to improve the flow of our vehicular traffic in Glenwood South. We were seeing previously that we were having vehicles that were slowing and stopping on Glenwood Ave, which was creating a public safety problem or concern based upon, as the chief talked about, emergency vehicles not being able to ingress and egress out of the Glenwood South area. Part of that traffic pattern allows vehicles to move and continue to move more freely, and while there is a bit of a traffic encumbrance that moves them on and off of Glenwood in general, does give them the opportunity to continue moving, and we've seen that that's worked really well with the Friday, Saturday night traffic especially. We were looking at what we thought could create a very detrimental scenario in downtown Raleigh, especially in Glenwood South, and that was an encounter with a weapon happening on a Friday, Saturday night in Glenwood South area. We wanted to reduce the presence of those weapons through enforcement. And while we realize that some folks are lawfully carrying or concealing weapons, it was our intent to go for those weapons that were being unlawfully concealed or unlawfully carried. We were highly encouraging our hospitality squad to be proactive in that effort, and we had great success where that was concerned in the fourth quarter. We've also talked with our stakeholders in the Glenwood South area to encourage them to utilize magnetometers, to encourage them to utilize consent searches of folks who are going to be frequenting those bars and nightclubs. Again, concerned that we could have a weapon make its way onto Glenwood South, and because of just the sheer number of folks that convene on Glenwood South on the weekend, where any incident involving a weapon could become a situation that had unintended consequences. We have improved lighting along the corridor and the side streets of Glenwood South, so not just Glenwood Ave, but paying attention to the north-south routes that are kind of east and west of Glenwood Avenue, the Boylan Ave and West Street corridor all the way up. And I'll share with you in a moment just a map that shows us where we've been, where we're at, and what we hope to accomplish where lighting is concerned. We've had coordinated responses with alcohol law enforcement and alcohol beverage control, both on October 6th and 7th of 2023 and on December 1st of 2023. We conducted joint operations with ALE, ABC, and other law enforcement partners that helped us to increase that proactive patrol, again, writing a number of driving while impaired arrests and citations, again, alcohol violations on the street and the like, to include also weapons violations. Communication is key. And I can see some business owners in the room today. I appreciate you being here. Our continued conversations with business owners, leaders, other stakeholders within the community is how we make it work. We cannot do this alone. It is certainly a collaborative effort. And as I say, for anybody who's known me for any period of time will hear me say all of us are smarter than one of us. And so we have asked our business owners to bring solutions to the table to help us, while they also bring some of their concerns. It's almost a one-for-one is what we're looking for here. We have installed several safety cameras in the Glenwood South area. They are up to a total of 18 cameras spread between Glenwood and Peace Street. That is a continued effort that we've continued to work on. I know this map is a little bit difficult to see from where you're sitting in the room, but this is an overview of some of the lighting that we've been able to work with the city to install in the Glenwood South area. And you can see, if you can just see the colors, that which is in red is going to be upgraded to 150 watt bulbs in 2022, so that's already happened. Some of the new cameras to be installed are post top lights that were completed in 2023. Those are depicted in green. And then we've got several other color codes. But if you look at where you can see color on that map, that is where we have paid attention to not only increasing the wattage of the lights and the frequency of them, but also working with an arborist with the city to pull back some of the foliage so that those lights are meaningful in those areas. And if you take a look at this heat map, it's very easy to see. If you look at the top left of this map, that is Glenwood South. Illegal firearms confiscation Q4 2023 versus the fourth quarter in 2022, those confiscations are up 177%. It's a huge increase in the confiscation of firearms in that area. And I think that gives us an indication of why our violent crime has been quelled in that area, why we have not seen massive increases in violent crime, because we are preventatively trying to make sure that we don't end up with firearms in Glenwood South that are being unlawfully possessed and unlawfully brandished. In the business court, transit mall area, again, we've expanded the transit unit as well as the hospitality unit. We have established measures to prevent loitering after hours at the Go Raleigh station, which has been a problem in the past. One thing we want to make sure that we're doing is recognizing that in the Go Raleigh station and other areas downtown, we do have a large and growing number of unhoused subjects. We want to make sure that we're engaging those folks in a manner that's humane and kind, treating everybody that we can with dignity and respect, while also understanding that we do need to be able to have public transportation working and working smoothly. So at the areas like the Go Raleigh station, we're making certain that folks who are in the station are there for the purpose of utilizing public transportation. There has been, again, a continued collaboration with business owners and stakeholders in the downtown area to make certain that our lines of communication are open, that they feel like they can share some of their concerns and that those concerns are being regarded by the Raleigh Police Department. One of the things I'm proudest of in the downtown area, especially in our business core, along the last several months and in the fourth quarter of 2023 is our collaboration with private security. This was uncharted territory for all of us. We had not seen private security to the extent that we do today. And so initially, we really wanted to make sure that we did not draw a line in the sand between the police department and our private security partners, but instead that we turned 90 degrees in the same direction and started to pull together. We are utilizing private security in the Go Raleigh station. We're utilizing private security in the business core of downtown, mobile, walking around the block. And what we have found is that that has been a force multiplier for us instead of a rate limiting step. And so I'm encouraged to tell you that that's working very well. Certainly no replacement for our police officers, and certainly the need that we have to have more manpower in the downtown area with the Raleigh Police Department, but a way for us to collaboratively continue to work together. Technology is a huge force multiplier to us. Wherever we can see something that the naked eye and the human eye can't see in a given moment, that gives us a huge advantage. And so one of the efforts that we've been working on recently is Fusus. Fusus is in my layman terms, going to be a cloud-based camera technology system that allows for business owners and other entities in the downtown area to share as they wish some of their camera views with us. That is a work in progress, and we are continuing to make great strides with our Fusus rollout. Also looking to establish a full-time bicycle squad. That bicycle squad would be working, again, predominantly in the core business district. That is a rollout that is going to take us a period of time, but I think that we'll be seeing that here within the next calendar year with the support of our chief and the support of council. This is just a quick picture of what our collaborative effort has looked like downtown with some Raleigh police officers, some members of our Go Raleigh staff. You can see a driver there in the middle, and then some of our security partners, private security partners down in Go Raleigh Station at 214 South Blunt Street. Maddie Horner is going to come and talk with us about some of her efforts with the Acorns unit down in the Business Core and Transit Mall. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Captain. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am the new sergeant for the Acorns unit, but I've been with Acorns since we started in 2021. So I have a very good feel about how the unit functions and what we're trying to do to help everybody. So when you look at the support for our unhoused populations, what the Acorns unit does is we provide coordination with multiple street outreach teams to best identify those persons from the vulnerable community and further identify the specific person-centered needs of those individuals. Some of the street outreach teams that we work with are Haven House, Downtown Raleigh Alliance, Healing Transitions, Triangle Family Services, and Wake Med Heart, because sometimes it takes more than one team with more than one specialty in order to really care for an individual. So some of their more specific needs might be mental health, physical health, housing, and direct service, and we will work together with our groups to provide those various things. and connect those persons to the larger service providers. Some of the street outreach teams are attached to larger service providers, like Healing Transitions. They have a rapid responder team, and then you can enroll in the Healing Transitions program through their team. Some of them don't. Downtown Raleigh Alliance is like our unit where we're service connectors. We figure out what services would work best for you, and then we help connect you to that specific group. I think a good example for how it works is when we meet somebody who is unsheltered or unhoused, we get a call from somebody on the transit unit who says, hey, this person needs some additional assistance. Can you come and talk to them? We'll come out, we'll talk to them. We might encourage them or assist them with getting a temporary shelter placement while helping with filling out their Raleigh Housing Authority housing voucher paperwork so that they're immediately sheltered, their basic need is met, but then we're looking forward to their next need. But they may also need a mental health care team through Alliance Mental Health. So we'll also make contact with Alliance Mental Health in order to have them establish a care team while working with the landlord engagement unit through Wake County to look for suitable housing that will accept the voucher, and then we'll help them apply for the housing that the LEU finds with the voucher and figuring out, does this person have a birth certificate? Do they have all the required identification or their other basic needs in order to successfully apply for housing? And our unit handles all of those little things that can get lost in the gaps between different service providers with what everybody's limitations are. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarge. And what I love about our Acorns unit is they know everyone in the community, our unhoused population. When you go out and you just see them and you say Acorns, they're like, oh, I know Maddie, I know Wendy, they know the team. So they're doing a lot of work in that space. So we will conclude our presentation today by I will say that I'm extremely grateful and I'm thankful for the partnerships that we have that have been successful in making things work in the downtown area. We know that the DRA has been there side by side with us, as well as some of our law enforcement partners, our business community. They have been very patient with us as we have been trying to get the right pieces, have the right things done to make our area safer. Also to all our other city departments who at a moment's notice we can call and they're there to help us out with our efforts that we're doing in the area. So we're extremely, extremely grateful. Moving in this year, as we move forward, we know that there's still some work to be done. Evan did allude to that at the beginning. There's a lot more that we are going to have to do to be able to sustain what we're doing. We're prepared to do that, and we will continue to do that. So thank you for your time. Certainly, we can open up to questions at this time, or we can continue with the next presentation and then come back.
Let's continue with the next presentation so we have a big picture view of everything that's happening.
Okay. So as we're transitioning, thank you, Chief. The Chief alluded to partnerships that have made some of the advances and progress possible, one being the Downtown Raleigh Alliance. I do just want to draw the committee's attention to some information that I've placed at your seats that provides an update on specifically DRA and their safety ambassadors and their private security and some of the positive work that's happened there. So did just want to make sure that you were aware of that. Next up, we will have Mr. David Walker from Department of Transportation to provide an update on security at the Transit Center.
All right. Need to make sure I was on the right slide. So I'm David Walker. I'm the transportation manager with our Department of Transportation and Transit Division. And we were here this fall and gave a quick update on our efforts to hire some private security, as Captain and the Chief have already discussed this morning. But we did distinguish between company police and armed and unarmed security in that previous presentation. Where we are today is that we have hired, as of December the 2nd, Capitol Special Police and Capitol Special Patrol. They have deployed two-person shifts that cover the entirety of our service area or service span at Go Raleigh Station. So our first buses are rolling in at 4 a.m. and the last buses are rolling out at midnight, and they have staff there for the entirety of that time. So we have continual coverage within the station. We do continue to collaborate with our partners at the Raleigh Police Department, DRA, and those leadership among our engineering services staff as well. What we have seen so far has been, I'll just say it has been extraordinary. The change at our Go Raleigh station has been an overwhelming improvement. The Capital Special staff are continuously patrolling throughout each platform. They board buses, they come in the front door, they greet our clients that are riding the buses. They go out the back door if there are any issues on the bus. While they're doing that, they have that conversation with the driver. But our Go Raleigh staff are just thrilled with the presence of our security officers and the extra efforts from Raleigh Police and their transit staff. It's just been an overwhelming change in morale amongst the Go Raleigh employees. They're excited to come to work now. We feel like this is going to be a huge benefit to the retention of our bus operators throughout the future. And as you're all aware, we increased our service back to normal levels not this past Sunday, but the week before on the 14th. And it will also help to make sure we maintain those drivers so that we can continue providing our full level of service. So what are our next steps? That was a short-term contract that we signed with Capital Special Police that began in December. It's good for 4 months. We are now in the process of letting a new RFP for a longer-term contract for those services. We hope to have that out on the street by the end of this month. The scope for that will shadow the contract that we have today and the scope of that contract for providing the same span of service and level of effort for those officers within Go Raleigh Station. And we do hope to utilize company police versus the armed or unarmed guards where possible, but that does continue to be a recruiting issue on most of these security firms as well. So the next touch points that you will see as council members are in February. We will be bringing forth a contract with Go Triangle for the funding of these services. We're currently using some of those funds that were not being spent because we had reduced our services, but we do have to have funds to be able to continue these services. And we applied for funding through the Wake Transit half-cent sales tax that went all the way through that process, was approved at all levels. So the next thing that you will see as a council is the interlocal agreement with Go Triangle that allows us to spend those funds. And that will be for the 2 projects, one for the security services and one for an additional security staff person that will be housed within our contractor, RATP Dev. You should see that interlocal agreement come through in February. I believe it will be in the 2nd meeting. And then the next step would be the actual award of a contract. Once the procurement is completed and an award is made, you would see that sometime in April or late March. And that's all I have today. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Okay. I wanted to ask if Bill King could come up and just talk about maybe some of the safety and security updates that are on here. We're going to have questions from the table. I don't know yet. Thank you.
Hi all, Bill King, Downtown Raleigh Alliance. Happy to give a couple quick updates. Since you last met, we stood up private security in the core of downtown. That started in October. Those are 12-hour-a-day patrols, 7 days a week, unarmed patrols, and they do active patrols, so they're always walking on the sidewalks. They engage with our businesses and our visitors. We think they've been effective. We've gotten a lot of good compliments from our business community on them. It's a relatively tight area that they patrol, so it's really the area that was most affected there late last year, and so that's sort of the Fayetteville Street area. They patrol around the transit center block, Wilmington, Hargett, Martin, and Davie. So it's been a good service for us. We get daily reports from them. We also get alerts when they have a particular incident, so that's helpful for us as well. And they do have body cam footage as well. So we feel like we've got some good measures in place there for monitoring how they do and their success. So it's layered on top of the ambassadors. I've talked in the past about those adjustments we've made, but the ambassadors are also patrolling. That's 7 days a week. That's from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., and then they patrol till 3 a.m. on the weekends in Glenwood South. We've gotten them a couple of vehicles and bicycles, things like that, so they can patrol faster. And then also we've been looking at their patrols to make sure they're in the places where we have the most activity. And then again, our social service team works closely with Acorns. We've been able to get several people into housing throughout the fall, which was great. So I know over a couple of months in the fall, we got 6 people into housing, which was a good win. So that's been a good opportunity for us. We've partnered with the city on trying to get the word out about the Fusus network. We held 2 demos for businesses in the fall about that so they could start to understand it. I know there's still work being done on standing up that network, but we're participating in just helping people understand what that means. And then we held a couple of community meetings as well. So we held one in October for businesses in the core, and then we held another in early December for residents and businesses in Glenwood South. And so good dialogue there. Really appreciate RPD came to those, and we're willing to take questions and work with our community on that. So thank you so much to RPD leadership for participating in those with us. So a few of the measures we've taken. I think we've seen good progress. We've seen certainly, I think, a real change in the core based off the efforts both from what we've done, but what also RPD has done, and private security inside the transit center. So I think that's been effective. My message would be that we got to keep it up. So there's a lot left to be done. We need to make sure that we continue to make this area safe, that it continues to be the current situation we've seen, which is a vast improvement, and we don't have it roll backwards. So I think that's really important. And then I also would like to point out the work we're doing with the City of Raleigh. Evan's been leading a cross-departmental effort on improving our public realm. And so that's everything from trash cans to trees to tree wells to lighting, things like that. A lot of work left to be done there, but it is important. When our public realm looks tired, it's part of what creates the atmosphere that leads to misbehavior. So we've seen some progress, but there's a tremendous amount of work to be done there. So I would really encourage us to continue that and to resource that, because that's a part of this as well. Happy to take any questions.
We'll ask questions at the end after we hear from everybody. And now you want to talk about lights.
Yes, right, Mayor. So our final presentation, you've heard lights mentioned a couple of times in the course of the meeting. We'll have Sean Driscoll from Department of Transportation to speak to you a little bit about the work that we're doing to improve lighting around downtown.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Committee. My name is Sean Driscoll. I'm the Vision Zero Program Manager here at the City of Raleigh. The streetlight program is under my purview, so I'll give you some quick updates regarding some of the improvements we've made to the downtown core and along Glenwood. A overview of our program real fast. We have 35,000 streetlights that we pay Duke for every year. Our budget is between $5 and $6 million. Hundreds of lights are added every year through private developments or our CIP and bond projects, or just through citizen requests. The streetlight improvements are requested through citizens, RPD, the Downtown Raleigh Alliance, as well as the state. These requests are usually submitted through our C-Click Fix program or directly emailed to me or the streetlight program manager. We evaluate these and reach out to our partners within the city, such as Urban Forestry, for tree trimming. These improvements are submitted by the city and completed by Duke Energy. So the map that you have in front of you was produced by our streetlight program manager, Dustin Bryce here. He keeps a GIS layer of all the streetlights around the city. So to highlight some improvements here, there's been 35 streetlights were updated to LED in 2023. These can be found through the red checks. So this is at the location in which Morgan turns into New Bern, kind of a long person, and then down here toward Davie. The blue checks are old locations in which LED first generation lights were installed back in like '09. as a trial by Duke, so we're still cleaning up these locations. The large yellow circles are 150 watt lights, and the smaller yellow ones are 50 watt, just to give you some context there. This is the transit center. So we're working with Duke Energy to install some pedestrian scale lighting. This is a unique trial that Duke is working with us to do to help solve some of the ped lighting challenges downtown. So we're going to install, or Duke's going to install, standard neighborhood style 50 watt black fixtures about halfway up the pole that'll be facing down toward the sidewalk. So these purple pluses you see here are all the locations in which we're going to trial that. And those are anticipated to be installed in the next couple months. So if it works out, we're looking to do it more. We're not sure how scalable it is yet, but we will work through that. And I do want to mention that there's a number of business owners that we've found that are keeping their lights on at night, whether that's inside or their front porch lights. Just want to reiterate that that does have a positive impact on the ped scale lighting downtown, and we would love for businesses to continue to do that. So down here at the core of, at Glenwood South, 25 street lights were upgraded from 105 to 150. These are identified by these red stars. So we got down Boylan, and like RPD mentioned, on West Street, so to the east and west of Glenwood. We had some spot improvements right here at Glenwood and West Johnson. As you'll notice at the other signalized intersections, we have larger high voltage lights. Street lights can reduce ped injury crashes at intersections by 42%, so it's very important we light up intersections the best we can. So that's what that improvement is there at Glenwood and West Johnson. And then we also worked with Kane and their private development they have on the west side of Publix. That's private scale lighting. It's currently shoebox lighting, 50 watts. It doesn't cast much of a light across the street or on the street, so we worked with them. They're willing to upgrade some of those. So again, that's just an example of a partnership we're having with a private company to increase lighting downtown. And while I got you, I just wanted to mention that my Vision Zero program has made it a habit to apply for millions of dollars in funding every quarter through NCDOT, spot safety, spot mobility, vulnerable user funding. At the end of last year, we submitted a $1.1 million project for what I'll call Downtown PED Phase 2 Part 1. Okay, so that's raised crosswalks, curb extensions, and flatwork improvements. So the raised crosswalks we're proposing to construct at 14 mid-block locations around downtown, which you can see here on the map as well. So 14 locations. The curb extensions will be with flexible delineators using thermoplastic, which I'll show on my final slide here. And then flatwork improvements is some ADA ramp improvements. This is just a couple of pictures. So that's what a raised crosswalk looks like. Ours will be similar, asphalt, again, mid-block crossing. And then that's a delineator bump out using MMA or thermoplastic to kind of fill in that dead space. It creates more of a visual effect, and it's cheaper than a concrete bump out. And that is everything for me. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other?
Mayor, that concludes all the staff presentations that we have planned for today, but happy to take any questions that the committee has now.
Okay. Councilmember Jones?
Thank you all for your presentations. I really appreciate just knowing how the last few months have gone. My first question is, does the increase, and this is to RPD, does the increased presence in our downtown also correlate to the increase of crime throughout the city? I know that being in Northwest, that we are hearing a lot of problems with vehicle break-ins, and when we do talk to RPD, we're saying that, we are stretched kind of thin. Is this a direct correlation to that? Are there officers that are being pulled for Glenwood South protection?
I don't know if there's a direct correlation. I will say, though, that we are pulling a lot of resources to the downtown area, and we have been doing it for a while in Glenwood South, certainly because of the issues that we're seeing here. The problems that we're seeing in the Northwest, in the Briar Creek area, we have teams of people who are working on that as well. So I can't say that it's because we're pulling the resources, because we're not. We still have our core officers who are on patrol, who are answering those calls for service. That has not changed. We're just pulling extra officers to put in the downtown area. And to that point, you know, I would say that we've all talked about sustainability. How do we keep this going, making sure that we have enough resources to be able to, yes, address all the crime in the downtown, but also to all the crime in the rest of the city. And I will tell you that my take on that is that we're going to have to rely also on our other law enforcement partners to help us out, and other partners within the county. So our Health and Human Services, I know that's a county function. We need more of that. More collaboration with the county on that to address the unhoused individuals, social services that are needed for them. Also, too, I think we have to look at technology as much as we can. Captain Van Antwerp talked about that. It's certainly a force multiplier for us. So any type of technology that we can bring in that's going to help us to be extra eyes on the street, that's going to help us to affect crime, we really have to make those investments in those areas. We've already brought some proposals forward to you, and you have been gracious enough to fund some of them and approve some of them, so we're happy for that. But I think we're going to have to continue to do that if we're going to be able to sustain the gains that we have made so far with our crime reductions.
Awesome, thank you. A follow-up to that question would be, I've had some conversation also with DRA prior to September to this going into effect, and understanding that the summer months are, we have a lot more activity during the summer than we do the winter. So great work in decrease, but there is some of it that is because it's colder. And so what is the plan moving forward as we do get into those warmer months, and ensuring that this is, back to your point, of sustainability?
Yes, and that's an excellent point. You're absolutely right. As the warmer months come, people are going to be out. First and foremost for us, because of all the efforts we have put in the downtown and the Glenwood South area, we're hoping that people see and hear it, that they know that you cannot come to our core business area and create problems and disorder, and that you're going to be able to do it. So we're hoping that they will see and hear that first and foremost. But secondly, part of the reason we extended our hospitality unit and our transit units is to be able to address that influx that might come during our summer months. We'll have more officers in place. Of course, we have our private security in place. That's going to help to, as people are loitering, hanging around, to keep them moving, to send them out of the downtown area so they're not causing problems there. And we'll continue all the efforts, too, that the captain talked about. We don't have any intentions of pulling back our resources necessarily. I do want to be cognizant of what else is happening in the city, because I do get beat up about that. Everything is coming to the downtown, and I have to remind them, no, that everything is not. We still have our officers in our different parts of our city. So we'll continue the efforts we talked about today, and layering on, making sure that we're also being, conscientious of what is happening in the rest of the city.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I mean, I do, but I don't want to take up the time, so I'll chime in later.
Councilmember Fort and then Patton.
Thank you, everyone, for the presentation. Chief. Yes. I have a little bit of a different question. I know there were some spillover effects from Glenwood South, that once you crossed P Street and went into the neighborhoods, there were some issues. Do you have any updates in terms of, have you seen a reduction in complaints or issues with residents and that area surrounding Glenwood South? Have these measures been able to kind of help you with some of those issues?
Yeah, absolutely. We did get the complaints, and we knew going in that there was going to be some displacement, because certainly if you have individuals who are committing crimes, you're going to make an arrest, but they're going to get out of jail. And so we kind of anticipated that would happen. So we have increased our patrols. We have talked with our residents, telling them, if you see something, please call us, let us know. We can do undercover operations. We can do different things with that and just concentrate on different areas. Where we have seen some increases particularly have been in the Pool Road area. And so we have a dedicated unit that's really focusing on that area.
But across P Street, in those communities where like parking was an issue and people coming out of the establishments at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and maybe using the bathroom in people's yards and those types of things, causing a lot of ruckus, has some of that been able to decrease with some of the measures you put on Glenwood South?
Yes, ma'am, and I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm going to ask Captain Van Antwerp to come forward to talk a little bit more about that, what we're seeing specifically, because we were getting those complaints in that area as well.
Thank you, Chief. The short answer is yes. We have recognized the displacement effect from Glenwood South area. We've seen that sort of leak over north into the area just north of P Street, and we've been addressing it. So we've had officers proactively patrolling that area, conducting parking enforcement. One of the biggest problems that we were seeing is that just off the Glenwood South footprint, some of our criminal element was starting to feel a bit anonymous. And anonymity is the enemy of enforcement, really. So the moment that they would start to feel anonymous, sort of slinking into some of the neighborhoods that were adjoining to Glenwood South area, we were having an unintended effect where those residents were starting to see some quality of life violations. We did increase our patrols there, again, did start to address the parking enforcement primarily, but because of that proactive patrol, we started to see a decrease in those quality of life violations, such as, urinating in between vehicles, things like that. The folks that were perpetrating those crimes were feeling much less anonymous when they had those proactive patrols happening up and down the streets during those key hours. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And I would add to that as well, those safety cameras that we talked about, we are positioning them along that area as well. So we're hoping that we will capture more of that.
Sounds good. And I will say that I had an opportunity to meet with several downtown, business owners, the ones who are on the Wilmington Street corridor, not the Fayetteville Street corridor. And I think they may have a little bit of a different perspective on how things are going, but I think I'm going to set up another meeting with you and some of those folks to give you a different perspective on some of their feedback as well. So
Absolutely. We're happy to do that.
Councilmember Patton?
Yeah, I have several questions. But first just wanted to really commend all the teams that have been in front of us today. Thank you all for your concerted efforts and what you're doing and the, very positive effects you've been able to illustrate. I'm a transit user. I did want to note the speaker coming out of the transit center has been fixed. It's playing all types of music, Miss Octavia. So I appreciate the fix there. It was quite loud, I think, last time we talked, but that's been great. Also, the flexi posts with the art bump outs, I've seen those. Those are great. And then, gun safety and prevention of gun violence is hugely important to me. So I thought the numbers you showed about retrieving illegal firearms were really compelling. I did want to ask, how do you do it? Can you get just a little bit more in the weeds on how you get those?
How we get guns off the street?
Yeah,
Is that what
exactly.
you're asking? Well, in a couple ways. So first and foremost, our officers are out, let's say Glenwood South. They are interacting with the public, and in doing that, they can just ask for consent. If somebody's out, or just ask them the question, do you have a weapon? Do you have a firearm on you? Typically, though, it's through an enforcement action, so there is some reason, some probable cause reason that we have to be able to stop the person, talk with the person, search the person, and then we discover those weapons. Most of our seizures come from vehicles and through the means of a traffic stop or something like that. And so anytime I get the mic and can articulate and amplify to people, please do not conceal weapons in cars, don't leave them in cars, I do that. It's an opportunity for us to make sure that those weapons are not getting in the wrong hands. So I will say again, if you go down, say to the Glenwood South area, don't take your weapons with you, don't leave them in your cars kind of thing. And then you can't take them into the nightclubs and such, so don't take them with you either for that purpose. The message is just don't bring them down there at all, kind of thing. But the short answer to what you're saying is if we can get consent, we get consent. If not, if there's a legal reason we can stop somebody and get that firearm, then we take that route to get them.
And while you're up here, another question. I wanted to ask about the FUSIS network, and I hope you'll forgive me if you've already gone through this, but we have gotten some email traffic and some constituent concerns around the privacy implications of that. So when can that be employed? What happens to that footage? Does it have audio? These are a couple of the questions I've gotten from the public. Can you talk a little bit more to that?
Yes, so the FUSIS network and the FUSIS system is not new just to Raleigh. This is a company that's been in business for a long time, doing real-time crime centers, if you will, where it connects camera systems. And it's the cameras that you already have, that we already have within our networks, our Department of Transportation cameras, our cameras from businesses. How Fuses is different is because it allows businesses to opt in with their camera system. So they allow us to be able to see their footage through their consent. And what we can see is just really what you would say public information, unless they allow us to see it inside their business, again, with their consent. And so with the platform, it's a cloud-based platform. Whatever footage is in there is not stored there all the time. After a certain amount of time, it's deleted out of there. Privacy concerns are an issue, I mean, for everyone, of course. And so we have to follow, it's CJIS compliant, we have to follow all the rules and all the policies related to security and confidentiality and that kind of thing. We are using Fuses as a means, as a real-time crime center for us. So when a crime happens, we can either see it in real time or we can go back and see it. It also gives us an opportunity to be able to know where our officers are. If they happen to be in distress or if there's an issue, we can get help to them immediately, kind of thing. So I think it's absolutely going to be a plus once we get it up and fully implemented. I got a demo just yesterday from our team. We are moving along. It is definitely going to be a benefit to have that in our city, especially in those areas that we don't always have officers. Having those cameras there, I think, are going to be beneficial to us. I think that if it would make the public feel better to have some sessions to talk about the privacy concerns, that is something that we can do right before we roll out the implementation so that people can feel comfortable with what Fuses has and what it's going to do for us.
Yeah, definitely think that would be really a comfort to the public. So would love that. Thanks for that explanation. And then one last one for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. You mentioned that you made a concerted effort to work with Wake County Public Schools, talk with the SROs. I think one question this committee had, and at least I'll just speak for myself. One question I had last time we met in this committee is where are these kids supposed to be? Where are they coming from? Where did they used to be before we started kind of seeing this influx of loitering? And now that we've had this success, where are they now, right? So I know I'm not asking you to like establish cause or anything, or like, direct causal relationship, but in your estimation, where were they before? Where are they coming from, et cetera?
Because they are juveniles, can I just safely say that they are coming from all parts of Raleigh, not just a specific area of Raleigh, different ages, of course, just kind of, they can get on the bus and ride it and come downtown, and so they just kind of hang out, cutting school and such. I specifically, I don't know, and Captain, I don't know if you have any more in terms of.
I do think it would be difficult to track where we think that, whether or not they've gone back to school. I think, unfortunately, I think that would be a pipe dream to think that we flushed them from this downtown area engaging in criminal activity and they decided they were so reformed that they were going to go back and re-enroll in school. What I do think is that we have likely, again, as an unintended consequence, had a displacement effect on where they feel comfortable conducting criminal activity. And so that part of it is a little bit of an unknown as far as where exactly they would have gone, to be honest.
Cool. Good. All right. Well, I can always have more questions, but I'm happy to pass the mic for now.
Chief, this isn't a question in so much as just awareness. One of the things I've gotten recently more complaints about is presence in Nash Square. And I think some of that is displacement due to the demolition next door, but other things, and families have expressed concerns about that. I know Acorns has been out there, and I thank you for that. But I guess just a cautionary word is we don't want to fix something somewhere and then have it moved to another place. So just keeping our eyes on that, I think the neighbors would really appreciate that.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. And I just want to commend you all for the incredible work you've done. First off, the street closing, like half street closing on Glenwood Avenue, has made such a difference. I mean, I hear about that all the time. The increased police presence. I know as you mentioned, Councilmember Fort, there are still concerns on Wilmington Street. It's not like it was a few months ago, but I just want to say thank you because this takes a lot of effort, intentionality, and resources, and y'all have done a great job.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that.
Thank you. What I'm going to do,
No, I still have a question. Yeah, thank you. Back to, there was a question that was raised in the last committee meeting that I wanted to just touch on. And as Councilor Patton had, in terms of the armed security guards, there wasn't an answer last time. What does armed mean and when are they allowed to discharge their weapons?
What does arm mean? And arm means carrying a weapon, a firearm. And I'm looking at our police attorney, or I'm sorry, our city attorney to kind of, because I don't have the definition, the legal definition in front of me. Certainly can get that for you. In terms of when they can fire their firearm, they have to follow the same guidelines as every other law enforcement individual in the state. If there is an imminent threat to a third party of a imminent threat of harm, of somebody being shot or hurt or killed, then they can discharge their weapons. And that is just statewide for everybody that is carrying and they're armed. They may have their own policies. We can be more restrictive than that, but at a minimum, that is the threshold or the requirement.
And do they go through any RPD training in
They have
regards to
not
that?
gone through any of our RPD training. I did ask Captain Van Antwerp, as we are working with them, if we identify some areas that they can get more training in, that we can help facilitate that. If certainly we would let their chain of command know, but if there's something that we can partner with them with to get that training, then certainly we're open to that.
Understood. Thank you so much. And my next question goes to David Walker. David, in terms of transit and the short-term versus long-term contract, I know that the short-term contract was $300,000 and that we will be getting an update in February for the long-term contract, but how much is that long-term contract worth?
I don't have that math in front of me, but I know the monthly invoices are between $50,000 and $60,000 for the services being provided today. So we could do that math pretty easily and get that back to you.
Right, and so it wouldn't be an increase into what is being expected of this contract. It would just be the extension of time.
Correct.
And how long is that contract?
We're looking at a 3-year term with 2 1-year options.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And that's all.
okay, thank you. Does anybody in the audience want to speak? Anyone else? Octavia, if you could take a minute, please.
Good evening. My name is Octavia Rainey. I am opposed to the armed security at Moore Square. And let me be clear, I am opposed to the police department and to you. The city of Raleigh has had armed security at Moore Square in 2011, 2012. At that, the armed security that they had his knee on a man's neck. They were awful. I mean awful. Black people come through there, put their beer in the trash can, they would go looking through the trash can for their beer cans. I went with some of the guys to court to defend themselves. And the charges, oh my God, they are astronomical, what they have to pay. I do not support that. I have asked the city to go back to 2011, 2012, 2010 to get that contract. We need to have a debate about that contract. It wasn't COVID back then. It was not COVID. I don't understand, Mr. Raleigh, why you are so skeptical about going back in the past. You know, the past gets you to your present gets you to your future. But if you don't know where you've been, how you know where you're going? But I would say one thing about the chief I do agree with. Raleigh is growing by leaps and bounds. Now, it really, really is. It is really, really changing. People don't only come to Raleigh for new jobs. They come for other reasons. And crime is one of those reasons. I think the police department has a big job ahead of them. How do you really solve this? Because you know what? If you build it, they come. So you're really building by leaps and bounds all over the city. So you can't play this little game where I'm going to focus right here. You have a job to focus all over the city with intensity, but not profiling blacks, walking, bicycling, driving while black. Not that. I train people to catch the bus. I have been training seniors for 12 and a half years. So I'm down there. I am down there. I'm down there. And I know what my seniors tell me. I know what they say about the bus services, how it sucks. I know when they go to shopping at Walmart, they don't even have nowhere to sit. And the city went on all forces to have seats out there, not for them to bring the carts out there. Guess what David Eatman did? You took away the benches, but guess what came back? The carts. They don't even have nowhere to sit anymore. So you punish the good people. Just to do what? Something is wrong with this picture. But to the mayor, I want my report from when you had armed security at the bus stop. I would like to have a conversation. I had to go to Tom McCormick to get the information because David Eatman wouldn't even give it to me. The only thing that you are not allowed to give me is Social Security numbers. And Tom McCormick said, give it to her. Give it to her. What was so difficult about that? Speak the truth. The truth should set you free. All I'm asking, let's go back to that past and let's bring out when you had armed security. And I hope that in their notes that there was mention of when the armed security had his knee on that guy's neck. That's why I'm so adamant about it. And I said, as a black woman, I will not sit quiet anymore. This is a problem. And to the police chief, so when the armed security shoots somebody at Moore Square, are y'all gonna step up to the plate? Or are y'all gonna push it over and say, that's their responsibility. They have to be charged. Y'all need to be. If y'all go along with this, when they shoot somebody, y'all need to step up to the plate and claim responsibility, claim the investigation. It's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street here. I will commend the DRA for moving forward with no guns. I think that was a big thing for them, and I think it was a brave thing that they did, and I commend the DRA. Their guys, their men and women face the same challenges as the armed security down there, the same challenges. But I think, to the DRA, this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing to do, and I do commend them from that. But I'm asking Mr. Raleigh, you go back and get my report, and then I would like for this committee to call another meeting.
Thank you. Let's see. I need to call this to a close pretty quickly. I'm going to ask if we can report this out, and then I'm going to ask if you can follow up with that report. Mr. Raleigh, thank you. So, do we have a motion? Yes.
Can we review really quickly what was the intent of bringing it here, and is that solved? I guess I'm a little confused. When we brought it into committee, what was the intent and what were we trying to learn and accomplish?
Councilor Harrison had asked that we review it in committee and have a better understanding of what was being worked on and have conversations about that. Also, I think the intent was to hear from the community, which we did.
I think, we need to wrap this conversation up and not continue the same sort of hamster wheel of hearing from departments over and over again. we can certainly push this out of committee. I do, I'll own my part to play in this, but hope that as we bring things back to committee, we can set clear policy objectives so that when we move things out of committee, there's an action that comes from it. So that's just something I hope we can continue to evolve and iterate on as a body.
I agree.
Do you have a second? I'll second it. All in favor? I did not see a hand. Are you good?
Good.
Okay. All right, we'll report this item out, and I'm going to adjourn the meeting. I want to thank everybody for being here from the business community and from the neighborhoods. I think that your voices lent a lot to this discussion and helped us get to where we are today, so thank you for that.